What's good, my boy? Yesterday I made this video and released it called Autistic Productivity, and it had a lot of different points in it, but my favorite point, and I'm going to end up, here's a real-time example of what I'm about to talk about. I just thought in my brain that I need to go back and timestamp it. Made sure to put it in the video journal. Whenever I was like around 6 years old, 6, 7, I think it was around, might have been in kindergarten. I was put on those ADHD medications that were basically like meth pills. I remember you literally look on the back of the bottle. I went from Vyvanse to this one called Aptensio, and it literally said like methamphetamine, shit like, and it's just like, what? What? Just like some crazy shit that destroys your fucking brain. I remember I was the most like autistic, in your face, getting in trouble, always in ISSS. Maybe I deserved it, kid. And then they put me on this shit, and for the next 10 years, I was a fucking zombie. There was good times and bad times in the evenings when it wore off, and I got to stay up all night playing fucking games. I was the one ranting and raving with all these unique words in the English language that some people seem to deem offensive and they don't like. But I was the one who, once that medication wore off, I used those words to their fullest potentials. That's a long way for me to just say I was kind of racist back then. But I was deemed heavily just someone who dealt with ADHD like no other. And I remember whenever I would take these pills and I wouldn't be on them, whenever I would come up here to my grandparents' house where I live now, but I used to live in this small house kind of in a suburb in a city, and I was forced to take these pills every single day. And I had a little bit of leeway where I could kind of act like fucking cuckoo, one flew over the cuckoo's nest, and ditch the fucking pills, and your boy was out here scheming and plotting and coming up with all sorts of shit. I was like a little Ted Kaczynski, my boy, up in these 50 acres of woods, just chilling and having fun. And I was all over the place, but I was free. And I haven't taken these pills. I stopped taking them whenever I was like 17 years old, somewhere around then. I realized, I need to fucking stop this shit. It also was supposed to like curb your appetite. Didn't do shit for me. I was 300 pounds whenever I was on them, and whenever I got off of them, within a year, I'd gotten down to like 150 pounds. But I realized that with all these goals and all these things that I go after and try to jot around, part of the reason I do that is this ADHD. I've always been a nerd. I've always been hyper obsessive. Whenever I get into something, whether it was fucking Star Wars, World of Warcraft, the guitar in freshman year of high school, I'm doing this shit for fucking 18 hours in the day. I'm not stopping. I'm going and I'm going and I'm going. I remember to portray, I used to play this game called World of Warcraft whenever I played video games. And in this game, there's a way you can like collect mounts and like armor pieces and cool little collectible thingies, right? And there's this one golden dragon in particular, and there was an NPC that you could kill in this one region of the game that was like Asian themed, and it gave you like some points and reputation. And I remember I stayed up in a vicinity that was probably like, it wouldn't take you 20 seconds to run back and forth from one end to the other. I stood in that same space for 14 hours straight, all night into the morning, past the birds chirping, past everything, killing this one specific thing that respawned over and over and over to get a fucking golden dragon. That's how the level of obsessiveness that I've taken with some of these things. I would get into Star Wars for periods of time, and I'm just fucking watching every Star Wars theory video till I run out of content, and then I'm just like depressed because I've gone through it all. I've always been like hyper obsessive. Whenever I got into guitar in freshman year, I didn't have access to a computer. It was like the small little glimmer that I didn't have no video games. And I would spend like 6 hours in a day on my grandparents' couch and a different grandparents just fucking watching Marty music just going. And I developed a decent amount of skill in like a month of not knowing to playing. So that just outlines the way I've always been with certain interests of mine. And as of late, I've been that way with music, somewhat these videos, woodworking, and painting. All in their own separate little balance of what I deem more important. Mostly the music, secondary the woodworking, third probably these videos, and fourth painting as a little fun side hobby. Even the painting, I might spend an hour a day on it. I remember whenever I first discovered it like 8 months ago, I was watching, I probably know all the lore of like online paint YouTubers and all these small little subsects of like communities and shit, just like pure fucking autism. So sometime around a couple months ago, I realized that this ADHD curse that I've always had is fucking with me in a way that I haven't been aware. It was the ability to jump from this to this to this. I'll give you an example of how my brain works. I was sitting in the living room watching and taking notes on this video about how to mix and master, or it was solely about mastering because they're pretty different things and totally different people that do each job. And I'm taking these notes, and all of a sudden I get halfway through this first video, and it's like, all right, I need to go and take out a thing of ground beef from the freezer and put it in here and get that cooked in. I need to go write that in the journal, so I make sure I get that done. And then my brain goes, well, I'm writing these notes on this legal notepad, and it's not in this. I need to go ahead and make sure I get to the computer and write them down. And then the guy on the video says something really important, and I'm like, fuck, it makes me think, well, instead of like using presets and all this, maybe I should try on individual microphones, compressing and equalizing each one, and I need to learn that, so let me write that down. Brain starts darting in all these places. Then all of a sudden a new thought comes into the dome of, holy shit, you made this video yesterday about this journaling method to keep these thoughts organized, so now you need to go, while it's hot and while the idea is fresh, go make a video and really explain it. Here I am. So it's going in all these different directions. And the only way I've found through real deep awareness is this journaling method, using multiple journals where I treat my thoughts and ideas like a fucking file folder on a computer. These are essentially individual files that I can carry around with me wherever I go. And whenever I have one of these, I don't know why my brain does this. I can't change it. Sometimes it works in my favor. A lot of the time, it fucks me in the ass. But I have this one for my wood shop. And anytime I get an idea, I'll write it down in that. Then, this is just general purpose, notes, tasks, philosophies, whatever the fuck. Then, I have one specific one for videos. And then this one is for the music shit. And what do we have in the most fresh entry? 5/4/24. Transfer, mixer, and master notes. Find a way to apply and complete. I wrote down what I said in my brain because I had to make sure I wrote it down. Or these thoughts that I have never seem to stop. Or I'll have little periods. If I'm really meditating frequently, it kind of can go under control. And but a lot of the time, it's this, but with just straight bullshit. Sometimes whenever I'm really what is the word I'm thinking? Whenever I'm like really focused and being stimulated by something that I'm learning, they're a lot more positively focused and a lot more actionable and get things done like. But then a lot of the time going throughout the day, it's a lot of like contemplation and bullshit and like philosophy that has literally no meaning and just like nihilistic, cynical thoughts and all sorts of things. And I'm pretty good at ignoring a lot of that negative. But it's just, I've found this gem of a way to organize my thoughts, and it came from me initially starting to organize my files on my computer this way. And I had one of those autistic thoughts, and it made me do it in real life. And I promise you, if you have like ADHD or some of the examples I've given of how my brain works seem to resonate with you, this is unbelievably useful. I mean, I get shit done. I take a lot. Action is like the easiest thing that I have. I've developed the actionable principle extremely well, sporadically almost, if you will. I was literally in there 2 minutes ago, sat down ready to do this, and then I thought about this video, and I hadn't made one today, and I'm like, well, let me just go knock this fucking shit out. And that's pretty much the way I do with everything. Some days I have ups and downs. I'm not better than any of y'all, but that's just, I feel like I can confidently say that I'm pretty good with consistency and action. But this is like literally, I felt inclined to make a second video hyper-focusing on this method. It is invaluable. And then these big notepads for note-taking and shit like that, and then documenting them and filing them into some shit on the computer in a category and all this. I have to do this autistically, and it sucks. It takes a good amount of my time. Well, it doesn't take like an abnormal amount of my time than like someone who just had one journal, because whenever I know I'm going to sit somewhere for a really long time and start working and doing things, I can focus and focus and focus, but inevitably during that period of deep work, if you will, one of these categories of thoughts is going to pop up, and it's just so helpful for me to not like stress out, and it helps me retain my focus on what I'm doing quicker, because whenever I can just document it down, then I can get straight back to what I'm doing instead of having to go off and think or stress out of, oh, I need to get this down, but I'm really focused on this. No, this helps immensely. I would highly recommend it. And if you're not as like autistic as I am, not in the retard sense, but just like in the like that, just keep one journal. I would say that's the best thing. You could watch 1,000 of these little faggy hipster YouTubers talking about journaling and doing this and doing that. They got little funny mustaches and shit, like your boy. But that is the true benefit, and just because I have this ADHD thing so bad, I just have to do it across multiple. So that's all for today. Just a quick little video. I'm working on something bigger, a bigger project for tomorrow, and I'll see you boys then. Chase paper, enjoy art and nature, stay organized, my friends.